Anywho, welcome to the Insights of PowerShell User Group online meetup, our main meetup. Again, code of conduct, which means be kind to each other, be respectful to each other in the chat and so on. No bullying and so on. Many thanks to Synergy for sponsoring this event and for sponsoring my user group. Thank you very much for this. And also thank you to Gio for recording the event. Just a short introduction about me. I'm Konstantin. I work with PowerShell, not for PowerShell. that would be great. With PowerShell for I think 10 years now. I think I'm available on the socials, Blue Sky. Also, my Twitter handle for the user group is there. LinkedIn. I'm sometimes on X, but more LinkedIn or Blue Sky. So if you want to reach me there, you can definitely do. We have call for papers open, so if you again reach me on my socials and ask if you want to speak or have any topic that you want to speak about, when it's a lightning talk or if it's a normal session like Andy will do in a second, you can ping me and we will work something out on an appointment when you would like to speak. Yeah, then again, session will be recorded. Mute your microphone. I will monitor the chat so that Andreas can talk freely. And we have again the PowerShell World Network, which is sponsored by Synergy. The world has, I think, many groups in many European PowerShell groups there. The Belgian, the Swiss, the UK, and so on. So if you want to check what they are doing, go to the Meetup PowerShell World page and check their meetups also. Good. Today's speaker again, Andi Bellstedt, who will be talking about managing internal repositories the pragmatic way. And so let's start the session once more. And thank you again for speaking.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
So let me try to share my screen.
I will.
Hopefully,
I will end mine. Yeah, now it's showing up. Yeah, perfect.
You see my screen? Okay.
Yes. Now you can start again. Yeah.
So I have to reverse a little bit back and start the talk again. That's why Konstantin and myself were laughing a little bit. We actually joined via the wrong link and started the talk more or less on our own.
Yes.
But yeah, so now I'm happy to see all of you. Hello and welcome to my talk about managing PowerShell galleries. And as Konstantin mentioned, probably a pragmatic way. So the agenda for today, what can you expect? It's a talk about some kind of knowledge for a component of PowerShell. But overall, it's a talk about a solution you can implement into an environment. So it's not about plain talk about a special technology. That's the first part. We are wrapping our heads around what is a repository, what types of repositories are available, some consideration about why to care for repositories. Why is it actually maybe not the best idea using the built-in PowerShell Gallery, or why there are potential problems, and then a solution that is probably enable you or gives a solution to build a little infrastructure which is firing an internal repository and make this effective for your clients. Even if the agenda states question and answer at the end, feel free to unmute yourself at any time or paste the questions to the chat. I'm happy to answer them in between. So it is, it would be great if it's not a wall, talking to a wall presentation. So yeah, my name's also on the table, Andi Bellstedt. I am on social also. I do PowerShell for about 15 years, I suppose now. So one of the topics I had some glimpse in. On my daily business, I do IT infrastructure. On the last years, mainly the identity and access management part, so heavily Entra, Active Directory, and all those funny stuff with the groups and the users and secrets and so on. But that's not the topic for today. Today we are talking about PowerShell repositories. What is a repository? Why use it? Well, there is a built-in repository. And first thing, why essentially care about repositories? Well, at least due to they are part of the PowerShell ecosystem, at least you should know they are there and what is their functionality. Probably what are the various types of repositories that are available, and how complicated or potentially how easy is it to implement a own repository or a repository on your own, due to that is not actually, that's very easy. Depends on the technology you choose or you want to go for. Second thing, why to care about repository, they are convenient. They are easy to use. Simply, they are there. You can, there is a built-in repository, and if your company is not that restrictive with the firewall thing, you simply can use it with the built-in commands. And if you have a restrictive company that is doing the firewall thing with some energy in behind, then potentially you're not able to use the built-in gallery, and then you maybe have to find a way for having a gallery or some kind of repository that enables you to utilize the built-in commands and bring back the convenience even if the firewall is not with you. There are pros and cons in utilizing the built-in PowerShell Gallery. This talk is firstly taking some consideration. What are the pros? What are the cons? There are maybe reasons you don't want to have all your production systems going to the PowerShell Gallery and downloading whatever is there. Maybe. Yeah, why care about having an internal repository? And like I said, the first thing is, or the main thing when internal repositories comes into play, when we are talking about such restrictive companies that name their systems air-gapped systems, and this is potentially considered, those are the old companies that are this on-prem stuff and so on. So I would say that's not actually true. Due to air-gapped systems can be also built or exist into cloud environments where the potentially back-end system, so the back-end environment, if you have a larger solution, there may be a back-end environment with some servers, even potentially a lot of machines that are not allowed to go into the Wild Wild West. So potentially caring about the internal repository is also possible or feasible in a cloud solution. But yeah, further obvious, it's more or less the thing with the on-prem companies with very restrictive firewalls, with such security zones, where simply a server is, or potentially even a client, is not able to reach the internet, and then the built-in experience is simply destroyed. So users are not able to utilize the built-in commands to download some fancy modules, though they are starting to get creative and downloading zip files and putting the zip files in some folders and so on and so on. And yes, that's possible, but potentially that's not the best way of having code and versioning in your environment. So the internal repository is one way to solve this problem, to bring back the convenience of having these internal or integrated commands even in air-gapped environments. Second reason for having an internal environment or having an internal repository is when you are developing own modules, potentially corporate modules where you solve problems and wrap them into modules to ship it, and having versioning and additional features and potentially all those nifty things that are available in PowerShell with the type system and so on. When it comes to such techniques, it's potentially wise to pack the scripts into modules and ship them. And shipping, you need some repository to ship them, or you're doing the zip stuff, which is potentially not that compliant. So having own modules, having internal code is one other reason for caring about internal repositories, because potentially you don't want to have your corporate module in the public PowerShell Gallery with all your fancy domain controller names, the domain OU structure, and whatever the internal vCenter or whatever is potentially in our own module. One other reason is simply I want to have control. I want to have control over my environment. It's air-gapped. I want to control what modules are available, and I want to ship all my modules or some sort of modules to a special target, a couple of servers, or potentially all servers, all clients, and so on. So I want to have at least the feeling of control, I would say. Yeah, and last thing, if you have own modules, if it comes to internal code, and if the company grows and getting larger and larger, there is the funny thing of compliance, and they want to control everything. And yeah, that's also another reason for caring of an internal repository. So any questions so far?
If you have questions, you can step to the Q&A area and unmute yourself and ask, or just go to the chat. So does anyone here has already an internal repository? I have, but for a customer.
Cool thing.
Okay. You are having also, Markus? Okay, cool. Because so I have this thing that I have also modules that are only created for this customer, and I think another use case for this would be I think if you have an OT, so if you have a production environment or so, which is totally not allowed to go to your corporate network or so, then you do some kind of internal repository. That's also
which is
the air-gapped systems.
The air-gapped thing, It's So and if it comes to those type of repositories, excuse me, mainly talking about repositories, there are two type of repositories or type of repository. And excuse me. So let's look at the flavors, what repositories are available in PowerShell. And overall spoken, there are two flavors, and those are share-based repositories called for SMB, and it's SMB shares, and also it's more or less for the small and mid-size market, I suppose. And web-based repositories, which can scale up to very, very, very large companies. They are available. They have pros and cons. And first let's talk about the share-based repository. Those are actually easy. Those are actually easy to implement. Well, relatively when it comes to larger environments and when it comes to mixed environments. But in the end, who's able to create a file share in the company? I suppose each of us is able to do such things. And there is no additional software needed. That's also a very good thing. It's built in, even in the Windows PowerShell, with the built-in commands, which is PowerShell Get V2. share-based repositories are available there and can be used without any without any configuration on your clients, on your servers, on the machines that should consume the repository.
Yeah, you just have to register it, right?
Yeah, of course. You have to register it. But you don't need software to build that kind of repository, which is kind of a different thing when it comes to the web-based thing.
Yeah.
So if you have the web-based things, they are, for obvious, more flexible. You may have software solution which brings additional functionality. So a lot of convenient stuff, security, regularity, and so on and so on. They are for larger scales. If you have an environment with 100,000 computers, you probably not are going to do a share-based repository. You should care about a web-based solution, which is scalable, load balanceable, and so on and so on. The share-based thing is simply it's a file share, meaning we are on the control plane of the Windows capabilities, which brings NTFS, and the share itself means we are granting read and write permission that controls who has the possibility to publish modules or publish scripts, and who is able to read the scripts. Are only computers able to get the share, or is it also available to the admins or potentially to all the users in the company? It's more or less easy to control this. One thing is potentially there are authentication challenges due to SMB shares are mainly for the domain environment, I suppose. You can put those on NAS systems, which may wipe out the authentication thing, if this is a consideration yet. But in the end, when you put it on a Windows server, there is authentication required, or at least I suppose you're not doing the guest stuff on Windows systems. So you are more or less bound to the Windows world with some kind of NTLM authentication, Kerberos authentication, and so on and so on. And we all know how beautiful and secure NTLM authentication is. So probably not the best way. The web-based stuff, you have read everyone access, and you to offer people the capability to ship modules to the repo. You can use API keys, SAML integration, and all those fancy stuff. One issue or challenge is the web-based repositories are more or less available with PowerShell Get V3, so you need some stuff if you want to have the easy repositories. Otherwise, you will have to buy software. So there is software available even with the V2 compatibility, but if it gets to the more or less common repositories that are GitHub things or Azure DevOps or the Azure Dev container, the Azure container registry, those are only available with PowerShell Get 3, meaning you have to have the new PS resource get command, the PS resource commands, which are not built in as long as you use PowerShell 7. But my experience on companies is that PowerShell 7 is not that adopted and not that implemented, and it's always a discussion: what's the benefit of implementing PowerShell 7? We have the fight thing. So why do you care about 7?
We have a question in the chat, Andy. Can you make a Unix or a Linux system or a container PowerShell repository?
Yeah, sure. You can if you do the share-based thing, as long as the system is talking SMB, you're free to go. So even such small Synology or QNAP things, they can be a repository. Depends on the size of the company. If it comes to the web-based stuff, there are there are free solutions. There are solutions that are available with a price, and there are the new Azure things like Azure DevOps and Azure Container Registry, but those are limited to the PS resource to the PS resource commands. Means you need to install a module that is not built in.
So just my experience, I used in an earlier project, I used in the NuGet Gallery. So there's a GitHub repo which is called NuGet Gallery. You can build this one yourself and host it on a web server. That is so a clone of NuGet.org. And my implementation is ProGet. We are using ProGet for doing PowerShell repositories because they have a special kind of repository which is called the PowerShell repository, where you can upload your modules and so on. Azure DevOps I used with PowerShell 2 also, but it's with V2 also, but it's a pain in the neck because you always have to provide the credentials, and that's in an automated fashion. It's not the best solution. So that's my and I also had a file share. So with the file share with NuGet.org in V2, it's no problem, and V3 also can work with V2 resources. I don't know if you have any slide or so about V2 and V3. Can you please verify what is PowerShell Get V2?
Okay. Let's look this in the console, so not to get that boring. So
can you
have at least some code here? Yeah. Is this a convenient size?
Do I think one more? Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, and I'm talking about this thing very often, if you consider to give presentations in PowerShell and you prepare such a cookbook like I am having here, my consideration, and please do this, start it with a break.
Yes.
If you're accidentally running this may cause things you don't want to have. So now let's look at the repo flavors. So we have a default repository. If you run the get PS repository in V5, and this is V5, so we are on PS version. Yeah, we are on 5. So if you run the PS repo, the PS repository, you see there is a PowerShell Gallery, which is untrusted by default. It's a web-based repository, and it's built in by default. Everyone can use this as long as the firewall is with you. If not, you're screwed. Simply. There are new commands. There is the Microsoft invented a new version of commands that are handling repositories. They are much more optimized. They are faster. They are convenient. In some way, the parameters are more, I would say, straightforward. But unfortunately, in PowerShell 5, they are not available. So you need to install those modules onto the boxes with PowerShell 5. They are built in PowerShell 7, so probably instead of installing those modules on the V5 systems, potentially consider to install PowerShell 7. But yeah, that's another talk, and that's another discussion.
And just one thing about the troubleshooting: if you are using V2 and don't have the gallery, then please do check your internet connection, because this can be also a thing. If you don't have any internet connection, their get PS repository won't return you anything. Then check if you have the right TLS version implemented, because PSGet or the V2 or the gallery has been is been updated to TLS 1.2, I think. If you are having an older system, or there are some system who are not on the newest patch level, they don't have this automatically implemented. So you have to tell the system to use TLS 1.2, and then you can, I think it's register PS repository -default, and then then PowerShell will try to register the standard PSGallery, and then you should have this. I have dealt this with this so many times. So just
I have this. I have this little bit as well. I know this. Yeah.
Daniel,
So,
you have a
thank you.
question? You come to the Q&A if you have, or you write in the chat. Hello? Okay, I think then Daniel?
You continue. Feel free to ask
Okay.
at any time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
so let's talk about the share-based thing. When we consider of building a share or web service, a share is simply easy. I have one. I have registered PS repo as an alias on a server, and I have a PowerShell share on it with a folder PS repo, and that's my repository, and it contains simply NuGet packages, which are downloadable from the PowerShell Gallery, and there are commands on wrapping modules into a NuGet file. So yeah, that's the content what a repository needs to have, and it's simply we can jump to the server manager and look on such a server. And it's simply a share, and it don't need to be a big system. So a large system, it's containing. If you host some modules, it probably will be some 2 GB or something like this. But in the end, it's a simple share. You can enable the access-based enumeration. You can enable the encryption. So security will be happy on this one. And simply give everyone read access or toggle the permissions however you like to have. It's just a share. And registering those, there is a command register PS repository. That's the I suppose more or less clear verb for getting something in the system. And then it's simply the UNC path which needs to mention 4 times for scripts and for modules. And with this, you can list repositories again. And with this, you see now it's the PS Gallery and the share-based repo. And the share-based repo I registered as a trusted thing. Now you have 2 repositories. And you can now find the modules from the... Oh, well, that's boring. Let me try to...
Yeah, you can snooze, I think. So if you go to your clock, and then you can snooze your notifications if you want.
Yeah. Let me stop the presentation for a second.
Yes.
That is.
So if anyone has any questions during Andi is fixing his notifications, just don't hesitate. Write it in the chat.
So it should be back now. Are you seeing my screen?
Let's see.
No.
Only seeing you. I'm
now.
Yes, let's check. Yes, now I see your PowerPoint presentation again.
Yes. Everything. It's not. Yeah. So coming back to the repositories, we have 2 repositories now, and now we can explicitly mention the share-based repo just to list the content there, and you can do the find module, and you too. We have 1 NuGet file in there. The file is inspected, and the metadata is read from the NuGet file and shown by the commands. And I think that's actually easy. That's not that hard. Building a share, putting a nugget file in there, and it's a downloaded nugget file from the PSGallery, and then doing the register thing on the computer. Well, there are web-based solutions, but to be honest, let's take a short glimpse to the web-based repo. I installed ProGet in the free version, and it is simple. There is a free version of the software. You have to register yourself, and then you get the license. It's totally free. It costs you nothing. The only downside is it's all the fancy and juicy features from the software are not available in the free version. If you want to have compliance things, security scanners, restricted downloads, automatically updates, and all those, you need to pay. If you only want to have a web-based solution, you're free to go. You can create one PowerShell repository, and you have a web-based stuff, and it's simply running setup next. You need a server for the obvious thing. And yeah, you need to consider a port, and probably you have to you want to have a certificate on that thing that brings some operational. But yeah, at least it's a free web-based solution, and this is scaling. So same thing. There is a register command, and you can use the built-in commands to register the repo. Run this one. And now we have, if we do get repository again, now we have 3 repositories. And again, you can explicitly list the web-based repository, and it's more or less the same. One consideration, you can install, yeah, for sure. Do I need to show how to install a module? Install a module in a.
You need it later, yeah. Then yes.
Okay.
Another question, because there can be another issue if you have a clean server or client build. Normally, the v1.0.0 of PowerShell Get is installed. So this can be another issue. You have to manually install the newest version. There is for this there is a devblog article from Sydney Smith, the PM on the PowerShell Gallery and PS Resource Get and so on. She describes it very well, how to first up the TLS, then updating the PowerShell Get to 2.2.4, I think. And then you can work normally. With the 1.0, I think you will get some problems, or many problems, I think. Yeah. That's another downside of using this V2 stuff. You have to manually upload it yourself because it's not included in Windows, the new version. Yeah.
Yeah. So up until here, we were using the V2 stuff, the V2 commands that are built in, always there, and so on. And yeah, if you're not considering this web server hardened thing, you can totally go for a share-based repository if the company is not that large, if your security is not with you, and you be creative and so on. Yeah, I installed it. Now we have the v3 repository, and there is no repository for the first, and we can register now the share-based repository. The new commands have actually a built-in priority, which gave you the possibility to have an order. The v2 commands are simply doing it from the top to left, means you can't do any ordering. It's simply the way you register it, the first, the second, the third repository. Within the new commands, you can do priority. But overall, it's the same. Yeah, it's the register command. The only thing that changes is now the commands are not only the repository, it's PS resource, something, repository or PS resource, and so on.
Just for mentioning, there is I think a compatibility module also available. So if you try to migrate your commandlets from your scripts from V2 to V3, they have what's kind of shim or a compatibility module which will forward the old commandlets to the new V3 that you can migrate more smoothly.
Yep. To show it quite quickly, now we have also the two things. And in my slide before, I mentioned the downside. The share-based repo isn't scaling. If you have large environments, the share-based repo may not scale. Or if you have large repositories with 100 modules or 1,000 modules, or depends on your company and what you want to do. The share-based repo is quite costly. Means it's inefficient. SMB is not the best protocol to get 1 million files and download and control and so on. It's inefficient simply. And you can even if there is only one module, you will find the difference how long this take and this take. I think that's now, and it's you run it, it's there. If you use the web-based thing, the share takes way more longer due to access need to be validated, the directory needs to be listed, and so on and so on. That's not the case if you're using a web-based thing. So the takeaway is, if you have a lot of modules, care for a web-based solution. If you have some modules and a minor environment, simply go for the web share, go for the share-based thing. And for the presentation now, I will focus on the share-based thing because this is the solution I want to present as a pragmatic way, where you don't need to install software. You can simply use the built-in tools and what is given in the Windows environment. So yeah, with that, let's come back to the slides. And it's now some consideration. What is the solution? And as I mentioned, the solution is now focusing on the share-based thing. If you want to go for web, you're free to go. It's simply a different address in the end. And potentially, if you're using commercial software, there are some gadgets and convenience functions and so on and so on. So caring about the solution, so the components of the solution, let's draw a picture of the environment. And I suppose when it comes to larger companies, that's on a very high level. You have your internal stuff, which is considered to not go to internet at all, which is mostly air-gapped today, OT. But if you go to companies that are a little bit more sensitive or to regulated companies like banks and medical and automotive and so on, there is this concept of internals not going to the internet. And there is potentially a demilitarized zone, so DMZ, or the outer zone or a bridge network or whatever it's called. This is the zone where machines may talk to the internet in a distinctive way, but there is it okay when someone can talk to external, because truly air-gapped, to be honest, that's not possible. And then there is the wide area network, considered living hell, everything is bad out there, and so on and so on. But actually the PSGallery is there. Yeah, and now you have your clients, secure admin clients, privileged admin clients, whatever, your servers, those highly sensitive domain controllers considered tier 0, and all those productive servers, those databases, and so on and so on. And they need to be patched, and there are so beautiful modules, and I want to have those modules. But yeah, for the obvious, security and firewall is totally saying no way that you are going to talk to the internet, right? Who suffers this? Who has this in his company or on customer sites? I suppose. Yeah, we all know this. And yeah, then you get into contact with the security guys and draw a nice picture. There, we can implement a proxy system, or to be a little bit to not overwhelm the solution, to not over engineer the solution. Let's consider the repositories in the bridge network, which is able to talk to the wide area. So this is able. I talk to the security guys. I convince them, hey, let's do a secret and very hardened machine. And you gave me a firewall rule that is explicitly pointing to the PSGallery. And I can assure you, I only will download modules that are compliant with you. I will care about what we download. You can write a list and I will stick to the list, and so on and so on and so on. And then they gave me the firewall policy and led me to the PSGallery. Yeah, and then the second dance with the air-gapped environment, the second firewall is allowing me now, talk back to the compliance department, to the security, to the networking guys. Hey, please, my computers are not going to the internet, but they need some informations. And I have an internal server, which is the repository server, and please allow the traffic. And I get the solution. Yeah. And with that, that's effective. Now we have the capability of downloading the NuGet files, putting it in the repository, and then telling the clients with the register command, here's your repository. Everything fine? We are good to go? Perfect. Then with that, well, there may be some things that needs to be considered. What is effectiveness? So is this really an effective solution? We talked about you have to register the repository. And this is where efficiency, convenience, and effectiveness may not be the same. How can you register the repository on your clients if the number is that large, or on all of your servers and so on? I suppose you're not going via RDP to each server, opening a PowerShell and pasting in the register command. So this is a thing we need to care. And if you tell the people, probably the thing comes into play where having a repository does not mean that the people who are requested to use them actually know that it's there. You have to communicate, or you have to punish them to use your repository. And if you convince them, hey, there is an internal repository, you can use this, knowing that there is an internal repository, that does not necessarily mean that they actually use it. But maybe you need to wrap your head around to force them to use. With this, there are some components in the solution which brings effectiveness. And with this, first of all, there's the proxy system. The proxy system, and as I talked before, I convinced the security guys, please give me this explicit connection, and I will stick to your rules. We write a list, we write down all of the modules we will have in our environment. So, I built an approved module list, which is a JSON file. Simply as that. And this JSON file contains we need the Spectre module, the PS Windows Update module, the PS Framework, and so on. And it's a simply JSON file. And my proxy system cares about this JSON list and only downloads the modules from that JSON list. That's done via a simply download task. That's a scheduled task in the proxy system, which is going on a regular basis and hunting for new versions of the modules and putting it in the share or on the web server. Depends. But then there is the customer, and with customer I mean the client computers or the servers, your database application things, SCCM or others. So the highly privileged and holy domain controllers and so on. How did you bring the repository registration on those clients? And this may be a challenge. Can be done also via a scheduled task. I considered the system profile to bring my configuration to the PowerShell. So embrace the custom system profile. Who of you is using a custom system profile?
So you're not meaning your own profile, so the system profile that is inside of the Windows.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, then I'm not.
Yeah, okay. So let's look at this. That's a quite, from my personal experience or from my opinion, and opinions are my own, that's quite an effective way of bringing config that I want to have on each and every PowerShell session to my customers, means the computers. And yeah, then there may be some magical deployment rules. As mentioned before, I want to have on all my privileged admin workstations the PS Windows Update module. Potentially, I want to have the PS framework on the dev systems. On all my clients, there should be the Dell BIOS provider module. And on all the computers, there should be the PS Windows Update and the Spectre thing on hardware hosts. So I built another JSON file, which is having some configuration. What modules for what computers are mandatory? Let's look at this one. And the last thing is simply an update task. An update task in the system, which is consuming the deployment rules file and downloading on a regular basis. And that's totally up to you what you schedule. Which is downloading the desired modules from the deployment rule list from the repository into the local system. With that,
could that be combined with your module that they already have?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
sure.
Okay.
Yep. So it's not only about the modules I mentioned. You can have your custom module in the approved module list as well. And you can write your deployment rules to push your personal modules, so company.1 module to some systems, to all systems. That's totally up to you. Yeah, that does not apply to the modules out there. That applies to all the modules you like to have. So let's look at the components. Going back to the presentation, let's look. So
does this also work with your module package update info, or is it? Sure. Yes. Also, yeah, cool. Sure. Nice. Nice. Just want to plug your module.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, let's look at
the. Might had a presentation before. Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, we may see it in this presentation as well.
Ah, nice.
So let's look at the file share, and hopefully, I suppose that's not that big. Then here I can zoom in. So the share itself, we looked at the repository before, which now contains this one NuGet package file. There are some other folders in there. There's the client-side thing. So this hosts all the components that will go to the workstations, privileged admin workstations, server computers, whatever. And there is the backend thing, means the repository thing. That's the code that is pushed to the repository server. And mainly it's the thing where we so the download task. And there is some kind of configuration in there, and you find the two. You find the approved module list in here, and there is a repository.json file. which gives the URL or SMB share, which should register to the clients. So, and let's look in there. It's not that complicated. You see, and I have some example files. So it's mainly those two files. There's a server side with one invoke approved module download script. And there is the client side where we have to have some DLL things to bring the install module to life on the Windows boxes. There's the mandatory module thing. There is a profile. So that's the system profile I was talking about in the presentation before. So that's the profile. There's the mandatory module thing. That's my deployment rules. So this file is what module should go to what computer. And that's the script which is on a regular basis via a task seeking out, are there any updates? And those are all the components. Those are all the components that are into play. So yeah, let's look at them just to get a glimpse on the repository thing. Yeah, I simply wrote a JSON file which contains what is the name of my internal repository and what are the URIs or the SMB shells. And my clients are consuming this configuration file to register the internal repository. Simple as this. If you want to go for a web-based solution, fine, simply change this text. And potentially, if internal PSGallery is not your most preferred name, type company X gallery in there. So that's the first thing. The second thing was this. Yeah, I agreed with the security guys. I only will download approved modules, and I will assure you I only change this list. We can put it into your GitLab repository. You can hunt and control me, whatever. However, I simply want a list, and we can talk what is in there. And as soon as there is something in there, we consider this as approved module in the company. And I have some candidates here, just for example, not to say those are mandatory modules. And for the newer ones with MS Graph and so on, there's also a larger list with the Graph modules and the Azure modules. It's a text file, yeah, extended like however you like. So you get the idea. That thing is the compliance part and the security part. This thing brings the what information is going to be downloaded from my repository server. And just to get a short look into the server-side thing, it's one script. And if we put it together, it's simply check that the PSGallery is there, due to if your repository server itself is a client of the internal repository, then you need the PowerShell Gallery to download stuff. So you have to check. So this only ensures the PSGallery is in the system. Then you get the content of the central directory. And then you check what module is outdated. I'm not going into detail of each and every script, so there are a couple of lines, but hopefully you get the idea. You ensure you have the gallery, you ensure you have your internal gallery, so you can compare the content. Then you check what module is approved and build a list of modules that needs to be downloaded due to they are out of date, there's a newer version, or they are simply not existing in your model in your repository currently. And then there is the download stuff, and the download stuff is quite simple. It's simple. If you have a file, it is save PS resource as a NuGet file in your repository, and then you copy over, and that's it. So it's a simple download script. And I decided to ship this via a GPO. So this brings the component to life. And let's switch to the.
Can you zoom in, please?
Yeah. Give me just a second.
Sorry.
So just to get a glimpse, it is actually the GPO is creating some folders we may need for the script logic, is shipping the script from my share to the computer, and it's put it in, this is whatever you like to, implementing the computer or copy it over manually. It's the same thing. And then there we have the schedule task. The schedule task is run on the system base, and it's simply executing PowerShell. Let's scroll down a little bit, and this is not that readable in the GP result thing, but in the end, it's simply executing the C administration scripts, PS repo invoke approved module download, and it's writing a log file. That's on my personal control. That's my inner monk telling me you have to control everything and you need to tell when was what module downloaded and so on and so on. So the script is writing a log file that I'm able to consume. And if I make this effective, and let's, yeah, that's it. Yes. And let's go to the repository server. I have some strange names, don't care about. And simply run gp update. This will put the, let's go to the repository server. Where is it? Repo. Let's go to the C drive. The script was in C administration scripts. It will put the script in there, and it will create a schedule task, which I prepared over there. And this is the old. And now I hit F5. The GPO did its work. So now we have a schedule task in there, which is going to grab the JSON file of the approved modules, and we can open the repository share, go to the repository, put it in the background, and simply now start it's running now. And if the demo gods are with me and the firewall is with me, we should hopefully, we should start seeing, well, modules are flying in there.
Nice.
And this is now done on a daily basis. With that, I have all the approved modules in the most current version within my environment.
Do you care about cleaning up? So, for example, if you have 5, 6, 7 versions of the module, are you care about that, or
depends?
It depends. Okay.
Depends on the size. If we talk about 10 gigabyte or 100 gigabyte, which is quite hard to have in a normal environment, I would say, not that much. Not that much.
Okay.
It's the answer. But with that, if we scroll up and do find PS resource on the share-based repository, due to the download worked, okay. Okay, we should wait some more moments because the download is still active, and SMB shares and open files and so on. I think we all know the thing of modifying doc files on SMB shares. Not working that great if 2 people try to do this.
You have also some constrained language mode.
I'm in constrained language mode. Well, that is interesting, actually. I wasn't in constrained language mode before. Why am I in constrained language mode now? That is very interesting. So yeah, demo gods.
No.
The old-fashioned way, the find module with the PS resource get V2
Works.
actually made it. So here we have now the capability of downloading some fancy modules like the package update info thing you mentioned before. Yeah, we have internal repo now. So we can get rid of the PowerShell Gallery thing, which only throws wild errors on my workstations that are restricted to go to the internet. So yeah, we simply need to unregister the PSGallery and register my internal gallery. It's as simple as that. And yeah, let's look on the client side. Let's look on the profile I mentioned. So the system profile. What is the system profile? The system profile is simply a PowerShell script, which is put into the C Windows System 32 Windows PowerShell V2 V1 folder. And it is simply executed whenever someone starts a PowerShell, as long as there is not the no profile option specified on starting the PowerShell.
And it will merge with your profile that you have, I think. Yeah. Okay.
It's oh, it's profile, right? It's profile. So that's the profile. But if you hit, let us write it there. PS profile dot, and you see there are 4 possible profiles. So it's the all users, all hosts profile, and it simply tells you, yeah, that's the file. And PowerShell is built. That's a built-in thing. If you start PowerShell, PowerShell is grabbing all those 4 profiles, looking, is there actually, so there's the all users current host, that's another folder, and that's another file. And then there is the current host, that's the one in your documents folder. And then there is the Microsoft.vs Code profile thing. So those 4 files are hunted, are checked if they are available. If they are available, they're simply executed. So that's a solution of having an kind of auto-exec bot. If someone is that old here in the community, who knows what auto-exec bot was in Windows 95 and systems before, it simply started on every console start, which can consider, and let's put this together, fold. Yeah, the thing I did is I only, due to I am aware I have a share-based system, and my share-based system is in the domain. Even if this script will be implemented in the computer, in the golden image of the VMs, something like this, it simply only will execute if the computer is member of domain. If it is a work group computer, the system doesn't give something. If the file is there, simply it will say, I'm not part of the domain, I'm not executing everything. And then I'm getting the JSON file, so the repository JSON, and I can run this on a test basis or on a demo basis to grab the. This should not take so. Why is that?
You haven't initialized the computer system variable.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, and when we look to the variable ps central ps config, then there are simply more or less the parameters for the register repository command. It's more or less as simple as that. With some magic, I'm caring about, is there the V3 and the V2 part, and I'm wiping out all existing modules, all existing configurations. I'm only doing this if there are no user-based repositories are installed. So that's kind of an optimization thing. But in the end, it is only register internal repository with the source code location. Yeah, so not that much. And yeah, I'm forcing to unregister all existing repositories. That is what I'm talking about, effectiveness. Yeah, I'm wiping out the PSGallery, regardless if the system is actually able to talk to the internet. My rules are: I have an internal repository. I care about the modules I want to have in my corporate. I can hunt via my something detection system if there are additional modules which were brought in on a not regular way, on a not approved way. So I don't need to have any additional repositories because my internal repository is my truth. So, and this file is simply put into each and every machine via a group policy. And this brings the situation that if I have this in my machine has the information that there is an internal repository if it starts, if it launches a PowerShell. And that's the thing I was talking when getting something to effectiveness. So I don't need to talk to people. So please register my internal repository. It will help you. Even if they have internet access, I simply care on the systems to they are using it because they am telling to use that.
If you have for some reason multiple internal galleries, then you just have to update on the server side the repository JSON, I think. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is not built into my solution here because I only have one repository. But yeah, it's to be honest, then assume that this get thing here. So I'm
it's an array.
Consider it as an array. Do a loop. I think this will be simple.
Yeah. Good.
So that's the thing. Now each client is aware of. We have. So coming back. Now each client is aware of there is an internal gallery. Now those deployment rules are in there. Those are more or less, those are optional because at this moment, when I push this PS profile, my solution is effective due to every computer in my network now knows there is an internal gallery. And if someone is typing find module or find PS resource, it is only the PowerShell only knows the internal repository, so it only searches on the internal repository, meaning only approved modules are in my company. Not caring about someone can reset it, so reset the repositories, register additional ones. Yes, that's possible for the session. And if those wise admins close the PowerShell and open it again, their personal registration are gone. Well,
at least every 30 minutes.
Yeah,
because group policy. Yes.
Yeah. One more thing is then there is the thing I want to deploy. I want to push some modules, some of the modules within the repository, and as shown, there are a couple of. Probably not every machine may have the RS job module. Not every machine needs to have the PSPKI module. Not every machine needs to have a module to develop modules. So not every module in my repository is for every machine. But I want to have the convenience not to get on each domain controller and type find module, Windows update, install module / scope computer. I want to have a deployment solution. And for this deployment solution, coming back to the picture, we have some simple deployment rules, and we have update task. And those are the files we see here above. It's the mandatory module list. And this is a JSON, little more complex JSON structure. I have a default which simply states this is executed on every server that is running the install mandatory module PowerShell. I have a domain-based filter capability. If I have a variety of domain names with, if I have a forest with multiple subdomains, maybe the test subdomain or the dev subdomain or the US subdomain may not get the speculation control or something. It's considered, it's a possibility. And then there is a computer filter. If my computers are named PHW, they get the Windows event forwarding, the log customization thing, and maybe more. And Constant, as you see, so the default thing, I'm shipping the PS update info to each and every machine. And probably this system profile now is for demo purpose. The system profile I would ship will be a little bit larger, with some more capabilities, and probably it will have the get package update info, export packet update info line in the system profile. So each system inspects itself. Are there updates? So maybe someone typed find module PS Windows update or find module something something. So the package update info will inform the admins there are newer version on the internal gallery. Yeah, and the install mandatory module thing, just as I look on the clock, time is ticking away. It's the same thing. Yeah, we specify we only run on computers that are part of the domain due to my repository is a share-based thing in the domain. And I have permission control. And then there is getting the config file, so knowing about what are mandatory modules, and then comparing are my modules. So go through all of the settings in the JSON file, make module list from all available modules, from all modules that are in the list, and now looking, do I need to download it because my local version is outdated? And with some effectiveness or some efficiency on if you have the v3 commands, then you are using the v3 commands because they are much more faster in downloading and installing. If they are not available, fail back to the PSV2 commands. And due to I'm shipping the PSV3 with my module, the fail back to the v2 is only happening once. And if this script is running one time, due to my default is shipping the PS resource get module, I'm getting
Oh, we have some hanger. Oh, okay. Now you are there. Okay, so your cam was hanging for
probably my bad internet connection. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Countryside and so on. Yeah, that's the solution at all. And just to get a glimpse, it's another group policy. And let's look. Here's the repo, and let's go to the holy systems. So the most important ones, which are called domain controller. And let's look on the PowerShell modules folder. More or less, that's quite the basic thing. That are the pre-shipped modules with the Windows PowerShell. And when it comes to C in the script folder, there is nothing for that piece, due to I have to apply a group policy. There is another group policy in my solution. which is, and now I have to scroll down. Let's link a group policy. And due to this is a demo environment, there are a couple of group policies. I have a group policy called, that's the computer-based Windows PowerShell group policy, which is deploying a system profile, and it is considered to be on the AD root, which is not, for the demo purpose, not there at the moment. But yeah, let's link it to have it beautiful. Bring it to the top. And now let's jump to and I keep the shares open here. And enter PS session DC1. And do the GP update thing. And you see the GPO is doing a thing, so it chips the same thing like the config task before. It chips the module, it chips the PowerShell task file on the C windows. Even if this was small, I suppose you get the glimpse that there a file appeared. And there is the system32, where it's there, and the Windows PowerShell, and the V1 folder, and we have the profile file in there, which is unexpected large. But yeah, probably let's open this with code. And just to see
okay, nice.
Minor addition. If we fold, yeah, it's actually the file I showed you, but they are signed. That's my personal thing. If it comes to a script which is in the system and it is executed on every system in the computer, I consider this script should be signed digitally with a certificate.
And which way are you doing it? Is it inside of the group policy? Because you have to do some kind of...
It's simply on the share. It is simply...
Okay. So the share has already signed it. Okay,
yeah.
Good. Okay.
I didn't show the... Yeah, okay. For the obvious thing, let's look at the group policy.
Okay.
It's as simple as this. The group policy is via the group policy preferences. It's simply shipping the DLL to make the V2 commands effective. It's putting the profile thing from the file share into the local directory, and it is offloading it is putting the install mandatory module file in there, and it is putting a scheduled task in the system. And this scheduled task is fired on a daily basis. It will launch this file, even with if it is integrated, and I may zoom in. It is integrated with the execution policy all signed.
Nice. Just for people who don't know, why should I sign my script, especially this special kind of script?
Yeah. So signing this script brings another layer of security. Not that people are not able to execute a script, or if the execution policy, we all know, if the PowerShell execution policy is blocking you, simply do the bypass thing. Yeah. But this is a compliance topic and a security topic. And now I have a scheduled task in the system that is running with system permissions. And I definitely want to assure if someone modifies this script, this task is no more running. As long as he did not have a certificate and sign the script, yeah, but
yeah, okay.
that's for the obvious thing. Yeah, then it's intentional.
So for script signing, just for everyone or just for the record, you need to have a document encryption certificate. This can be a certificate from your own PKI, or it can be, if you want, an external certificate. But I think I have not tried to get an external encryption certificate, but I think it's very it could involve some paperwork to get some kind
Paperwork,
of
and
script.
is, as I remember, you don't get code signing certificates without having hardware assurance. Means you need to have them on a stick.
HSM
Not
keys.
getting
Yes.
PDF
Yeah.
files out there. Yeah, but I have a own PKI in there. I have a code signing certificate, and I can use this.
Yeah.
Not
So
getting
just for the records, what is the prerequisite for signing a script? And you use I think it's called set authenticate signature commandlet. Provide your certificate, provide your file, and then it will automatically be signed with the signature block. Yeah,
exactly. And just to show it, I'm not going through. I have it in the file, and this file will be on my Git. If anyone like to inspect further. There's the get authentication signature for one of the script, and it simply tells me this script was signed by me. It was signed that date. It's living for a year, and it was done by set authentication code signature with an additional timestamp URL. That brings the situation to life. Maybe script signing is a different talk.
Yeah. So if you want to have more information, go to the PowerShell conference YouTube channel. And Raimund Andre has a talk or had a talk last year about script signing, and he showed even more advanced how to do it in the pipeline and the HSM stuff that we talked about and so on. So you can get some kind of deeper insight this week.
Yeah,
I want to have it in the recording, just the basics and so on. That we have it. This is a closed stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it is not only showing about client side. We actually talked about the stuff. We talked about the GPOs. We applied the GPOs. We run the script. And the last thing I can show, we now have, when we go to the scheduled task and relocate to the SVWHQ1 DC1 system, we now have within the come on, demo gods. Don't do interactive demos. Yeah,
especially with the MMC.
Okay,
let's wait a bit. We still have some time. We have still 10 minutes, so that's totally fine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I suppose demo gods are not with me. Probably my security policy was mixed up, but yeah, we are on the system. We have been on the system via PowerShell, right? So simply get
why not?
scheduled. We are in the PowerShell talk, so why not doing the get scheduled task and find a task name install mandatory module in there, getting this one, and simply start scheduled task. I will put it in the window mode. Let's go on the domain controller to the program files, Windows, PowerShell, the modules folder. That's the default modules folder. And for obvious, if the script runs in system context, it will put the approved mandatory modules in the system scope. Means if this is going to start, we should see, hopefully, if this is not totally broken, we should see modules appearing. So the PS resource get thing, and there's the Windows update, there's the speculation control, and the package update info. So and that's a totally cost-free deployment solution for 2 or 2,000 or probably 20,000 clients.
Oh, and if someone wants to download another module on the domain controller, then this solution will prevent them.
No,
not
totally not.
Okay.
Totally not. Why not having a download on my own? It simply mandate that those modules are there anytime. For sure. With the most current version.
So if you install a new member server or a new domain controller, and they will put the group policies down, and the task will run the first time, then they have the modules. Okay.
That's the idea. And it doesn't hinder me from going to the domain controller via the beautiful read-only, via the beautiful command mstsc and typing the password thing. Now I lost the zoom sorry, but
this is a server core, we don't see anything else.
My resources are limited, and actually I'm very in server core for domain controllers and those basic infrastructure systems, due to its wasted resource, not to do more. So if you do, we can do a get module or a get PS repository, and maybe I zoom in. Yeah. I was not doing everything, and we can reverse to the register thing, so we can unregister. No, probably this will take me too long to type, but we can wipe out the configuration, re-log in, and my PS repo will be back. But I'm totally free to type find PS resource. Oh, that's not considered. I do find module. And it is going to my internal gallery. It only lists, and I suppose you know how expensive and how long it takes if you run this on a computer with internet access for the PSGallery. It only grabs the share. And those are all the modules I have. And I am totally free to, for whatever reason, do the find module for the PSPKI thing and install module scope current user. It will install. There's no problem.
Okay.
It will not keep the module updated.
Yeah.
That's the thing I need to do on my own. But therefore, the system profile on the full picture have the PS update info line in. So it will actually, if you open the PowerShell, the PS update info will tell you, hey, there is a new version on your internal repository for the module. So, yep. And now I have the get command module PSPKI, and now I have the PSPKI on my domain controller for whatever reason, but it's there. Log off.
Nice.
So with that, that's the demo. And actually, I forgot to raise the demo bar. So the full picture. Here, that's the solution. Yeah? Assuming you don't have internet access, or you want to have compliance and only have approved module in the PowerShell ecosystem, then simply build your internal repository. If you do a share-based thing, you need to care about these download approved modules. If you go for the paid software like the ProGet, this software has for obvious such functionalities built in. If you don't want to pay and don't want to operate server certificates and so on, do a share. It will work for at least 1,000 computers, at least 1,000 servers, probably 2,000 as well. I have had an environment with around about 3,000 servers where we actually use the share-based solution. It's possible. And yeah, then there is the system profile. There is the download mandatory modules, which is the deployment part. Yeah, and as a conclusion, having an internal repo may be worth a consideration. Often this thing is left over and a potential risk for downloading everything from the PSGallery, and there may be things in there that are not that good. Yeah, distributing your own modules will be easy with this one. Yeah. You can start small. Yeah, it doesn't cost you $1 your time. Yeah, for obvious, and the file share, but probably the file share can be on the domain controller as well. That's up to your security concerns or feelings.
Everyone puts everything on the domain controllers, correct?
There are some advantages if they are on the domain controller, even on the firewall side, due to you can be quite certain that domain controllers are available via the firewalls, and they have a replication mechanism built in where they spread the repository through the network. So it's worth a consideration. Yeah. With that, that's my talk. Time for questions.
Thank you very much. So, do you have some questions? Just unmute and go to the Q&A area, or some feedback or so.
Or probably put it in the chat. Whatever you like.
Yes.
My name is Daniel. I have a question about specific version of modules.
Mhm.
You never had to have specific older version of modules to put on the gallery, and also the newer ones. How do you handle that?
Actually, that's why I'm not caring about the if the repository contains all versions.
Okay.
You simply can put all the versions there and simply keep it as versioning as for compliance, meaning it costs some megabytes, but it is not that expensive. And if you have a really, really large repository and on a file share, this won't be such effective. But simply then enable the DDAP thing. This will bring a lot of efficiency. On my side, I never cleaned up. So I have all the versions. The only thing, if I need to assure that some certain systems don't get the newer version, then there may be some enhancement in the deployment logic. Potentially when we go to the deployment file, so the client side where the mandatory modules live, potentially you need to do some addition to the script logic. That would my guess. I would put the version in text in the JSON file and in that way build a rule where all the computers that needs to have the old MS-Graph or whatever module, I would build a configuration like this and then enhancing the install mandatory module script. It's not there for the moment, but it will be not that hard, I suppose.
So the mandatory module script don't do a cleanup.
No,
okay.
It don't do a cleanup. And I suppose storage is not that critical.
Yeah.
I'm not aware if there is a module with the size of above 10 megabytes.
DBA tools.
I know, but
DBA tools, I think I copied it today 500 megabytes because of the libraries.
It is actually?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
if you keep multiple versions of this can grow very fast. Yes.
Okay. That's totally worth the consideration. Yeah. And due to I wasn't in DBA tools, I did not have that solution in place. Potentially, it may be something which is worth a consideration and think for an update. But in the end, then it is something here in the script, and even the cleanup. Some lines here in the script.
So I think you will post this on GitHub. So if someone wants to take this over, do a pull request. I think Andi doesn't mind to do it.
Nothing at all.
To accept the pull request. Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And yes, actually, PSUG in Salsa 2025.
Yes.
So with that, it's on GitHub.
In your presentation repository, correct?
In the community,
in the PowerShell user group.
I think the repositories are ordered by last access.
I see it. I think it's it's the PowerShell user group. I will post it in the chat if someone is interested. Paste as plain text.
Here it is.
Here it is. Yes.
If you find spelling mistakes, just fix them and give me a pull request.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Anyone else? Any questions? Any comments or so? Okay.
There are some.
Tom wants to ask something.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom. Hi.
Hi. Andi, can you also add the an PDF of the group policies you applied on the machines?
I would say simply reach out to me via LinkedIn. We will find a solution. Probably you can get the export.
I will contact if I'm so far.
Yeah, just reach me. And this will end my talk. There's the GitHub. There's the X. I have LinkedIn as well. You can find me by name. I'm quite so.